Hello children, myself Manisha Petkar and I am your science teacher. So today in this class we are going to learn about the chapter, that is biology chapter number 1, crop production and management. So children, the food requirement of human beings is fulfilled by the crops, isn't it? You have studied in your lower classes that the crops or the plants, they prepare their own food, and we human beings and animals, we are dependent on the plants, isn't it? So our food requirement is fulfilled by the crops. So children, many of you visit your uncle's house during summer vacation, isn't it? If your uncle belongs to some village and if he is a farmer, then he may have some tools like khurpi, shovel, sickle, plough, etc. Isn't it? So if you have not seen such kind of tools, I will show you few of the tools near me. One I am having, this is what? Sickle. And the other one I am having is what? Shovel. These tools they use for the irrigation process or for the cultivation of crop in agriculture process, isn't it? So you might have seen those tools in the field, but you might be having a query that what are these tools used for and how they are used, isn't it? So this all we are going to study in this chapter. So children, you have seen that plants prepare their own food and they feed us. We living beings, we eat them, we live in them. So you have seen India is a vast country, isn't it? There is a huge population, large amount of population in India. So how the food requirement is fulfilled? How the provision is done? So it has to be provided, the food has to be provided on a large scale, isn't it? So this is done by the fulfillment of requirement of food is fulfilled by the proper management, proper production, isn't it? Proper production of crops, proper management of crop or food, and then the distribution of food. So this is very necessary. So these factors are necessary for the food to distribute on a large scale. So children, what do you see? You also might have seen that crops which we eat, they grow in different seasons, isn't it? So what is a crop? A crop is nothing but same kind of food or same kind of plant are grown or cultivated on a large scale. So this is nothing but crops. Children, long ago, that is during 10,000 BC, there were some nomadic tribes. Nomadic in the sense, the people travel from one place to other place. For what purpose they travel? They travel to gather food, to collect food. People during those times, they were not settling at a single place. They were not settling at one place. So during those times, they were traveling from one place to other place. They were roaming. They were traveling for what? To collect fruits, vegetables, nuts, whichever is available in the nature, that is forest. So they were having only the collection of food, only the collection of vegetable. But during some time, that is during some extreme conditions, they were not able to collect the food. So they were starving for the food. So later they started settling at a single place. They started cultivating land. They started cultivating crops. So from there the agriculture was born. The agriculture took place during these time. Yes children? So these crops are nothing but what? The crops are grown on a large scale. The same kind of plants are grown on a large scale. In some, so for example, say if you are taking some 1 acre of land, okay, and you want to grow some wheat or some paddy crop. So if same kind of crop is grown on this particular land, on this particular area, then you call it as wheat crop. If you grow paddy, then you call it as what? Paddy crop. Again, if you grow some other kind of, like say example maize. So you call it as maize crop, isn't it? So you have also seen that there are different varieties of crops. For example, pulses, then lentils, cereals, oils, vegetables, fruits, isn't it? So these are different varieties of crops which are grown in the different season at different parts in our country. That is, India is a vast country, isn't it? So these crops are grown, different varieties of crops are grown in different season at different parts. So, student, generally what happens? Do you find same kind of food daily in your tiffin box? Do your mother cook same kind of food? Does she pack same kind of food daily? So when you open your tiffin box, when you open your lunch box, you see different varieties of food daily. For example, there are some idlis. For example, some chapati, roti or puri, some rice item like fried rice, biryani, which are made up of cereals. Or you may have some vegetable salad or some fruit salad. So there are variety of food present in your tiffin box. So these variety of food or these variety of crops, they are grown in different seasons depending on the factors like humidity, temperature, rainfall or irrigation. Irrigation, that is nothing but availability of water. So you can grow paddy in all season, but only when water is available. That is, when availability of water is there. But if there is no availability of water, then you cannot grow any crop in all season. You have to wait for the rainy season. Only when you can grow this crop only when it rains, isn't it? So these variety of crops, they grow on the factors like humidity, temperature, rainfall and irrigation, isn't it? So these variety of crops you can only get when you have these all proper management. So this management is done by the farmers. The farmers has to do the agricultural practices in their field. So what are these agricultural practices? For example, I can list down below. For example, you can say preparation of soil. The farmer has to first prepare the soil. We will elaborate this in your next class. Just we will see what are the steps or what are the agricultural practices that has to be taken by the farmers. They have to struggle a lot for this, isn't it? So first one is what? Preparation of soil. The second one is nothing but sowing of seeds. Third one is adding fertilizer or manure. Then fourth one is nothing but what? The seeds which are sowed or the seeds the soil in which we are adding fertilizer, that has to be again irrigated. Means the irrigation process. That is availability of water. Then again these crops, we have to protect them from what? Weeds. After that we have to harvest. The farmers harvest them. And the finally is what? Storage. There should be proper storage of these crops, isn't it? Now, based on this, based on the seasonal pattern, these crops are having two major cropping patterns. So apart from the diversity, we have two major cropping patterns. What are those? One is kharif crop and the other one is rabi crop. So what is kharif crop, children? So the kharif crops are nothing but these crops are grown during rainy season. They are called as rainy crops, isn't it? So this usually takes place from June to September. The time period is from June to September. So what kind of crops do you find here? Like maize, soya bean, coconut, groundnut, isn't it? So these kind of crops are grown during rainy season, or paddy. Okay. Then these crops are only found during rainy seasons. That is why they are called as what? Kharif crops. And the other one is what? Rabi crops. These crops are grown during winter season, which takes place from October to March, isn't it? So during these times they grow the rabi crops. For example, sesame, or for example you can take like maize. For example, you can have many examples, isn't it? So you can that such kind of crops, they are grown during winter seasons. Then these crops are nowadays what happens, many crops, they are growing in all the seasons. For example, pulses and vegetables, they are growing in all seasons. That is because of what? The availability of water, the availability of irrigation, isn't it? So all this are just based on one factor. These factors are what? That is rainfall, humidity, temperature and the irrigation process, isn't it? So these all factors matters a lot to grow a crop. Did you understand, student? What is crop? How they are grown? What are the agricultural practices taken by the farmers? So what you have to do? You can experience this if you visit any village. You can find the different varieties of tools which are taken by the farmers, which are used by the farmers in the field, isn't it? So you can find what kind of seasonal plants are available. For example, you can see when is wheat grown. You can see when is jowar grown, when is maize grown, isn't it? So these kinds of plants, these kinds of crops can be observed in the seasonal manner, and they are grown in different parts of our country.